Hello everyone, this is Lisbeth. I am sneaking on to do our recording for our class for the 5th of July because this is going to be a recorded class. Well, this is the recording for the recorded class. I thought it would be easier to just do it this way. I'm going to turn down our camera here, and this is what we did tonight, excuse me, or for the class that we taught tonight, but I'm doing the recording after class because I wanted to do this type of lettering in a different way so that you could see that it can be done much differently, but still using the same techniques, the same kind of style, and just changing up a very few little things to make it just a little bit different. And I think you'll see what I'm talking about, and hopefully you will enjoy making these little changes and seeing something completely different. So I have taken and just base coated this and made it, just it's shoreline. I love this color. Of course you can watch. You can come on live. Absolutely. I can't see names though for some reason. So of course you can. You can absolutely watch. So, but just know I can't. Well, maybe I can get you on my phone. Let me see if I can. But anytime I'm doing this, I just thought it would be easier and it would get up quicker than if I had to make poor Laura do it. So let me see here. There it is. It's already up. Let me see. There we go. There we go. There it is. Okay, let me get the volume off. Of course. There we are. Yay. Yay. Okay. Good. It's Colleen and Barb. I see you. And there's Paula. Good. Oh, we've got 7. Well, we can just hang out here. That's just perfect. Of course you can come in. So, I'm going to go through it again, but I'm going to use a similar word just because then they go together. But you could do this with any word at all. I have base coated this board. It's a little bit bigger than the last one I used, but it's just one that I had handy. And I'm still going to use the same idea, but I'm going to use a little bit bigger brush this time, and I'm still going to use white paint, and I'm not going to leave it white though. So there's a hint about what's going to happen. I'm going to get some of this white, and I should have gotten a different bottle. I do have one right here, but I want to use this one up. Hello, Eve. Oh, no, you're fine. This is the recording for next week. So you're early along with everybody else. So you're early to the party that I'm recording for next week. So, hi, Linda O'Connell. My goodness. This is just the recording for next week. So you're all early to the party, but you're welcome to the party all the same. So I'm going to use a number 10 flat, and we had talked about in the class, if you haven't watched tonight's class already, we talked about setting this up, and in the inspiration piece, we talked about how we set this up, but we used that exaggerated spacing where we used a larger margin for the lower area and then a smaller margin for the top. And well, hello there, Cheryl. This is funny. Here I thought I could sneak in here kind of tippy-toeing, and you guys caught me. You caught me. Well, it's going to make more sense because it will talk about how I set it up, because this time I'm just going to talk about the lettering a little bit more. And so it's not going to talk about the setup, but I did use the same spacing. Oh, perfect. So here we go. So I'm going to use a little bit different consistency than I did earlier. I'm using a different brush. So it's going to be a little bit different, and it's going to have a different, oh, you're so sweet. You're so sweet. Oh, perfect. Well, good. You can see if you were watching earlier, this is much more paint in the brush that I'm going to be using. So, but it's going to be fun. And so I was going to do beach, and then I thought, no, not everybody is a beach person. You know, those of us who live out here in the Pacific Northwest, especially on the west side of the mountains, we all are just, you know, water people. So, but I'm going to use the word, since we used create earlier, so those of you just coming in, I was just going to do the recording real quick for for next week's class, because I'm going to be out of town. Hi, Bonnie. And this is what we did tonight, and I showed you how to go through and do this type of lettering. And it's a really fun way to do lettering. And what I explained was I thought it'd be great to do this kind of lettering, but while we're familiar with it, to do another style using the same kinds of concepts. So if you didn't see tonight's, it would help you a lot to watch tonight's and see how I set it up, and go into a little more detail about that. Well, I measured it off using both my 2 and 1 inch ruler, and I stacked them. Okay, so because the letters on the create are 3 inches, but when I measured from the top of the lowercase to the bottom, and from the top of the lowercase to the top line, there's only 3/4 of an inch right here. And so I couldn't use this whole thing. So when I had my line, I moved it up to 3/4, made my line. So now I've got my lines that I'm going to use to guide the drawing, or to guide the lettering, and you can kind of see them softly on here. For some reason, it doesn't want to mark very well on here, but I'm going to use a word that I am that kind of goes with this, inspire. And so that's something that people who are artistic use all the time. And I'm going to use, oh, I forgot something that I think really helps, and that's my vertical. And my vertical is going to be my reference point, where I can look here and make sure that my letters are staying true. And so I'm just going to put my I. This is the hardest one because it's got such a long dealio there. And then I'm going to put my N. And you know, I put these in here for spacing, but I sometimes don't follow them all the way anyway. So they're kind of, you know, just for looks. Not really. What Facebook? I'm on the lettering. Aren't I on lettering? I should be on lettering with Lisbeth. And so this is a little narrower, just to give a little bit different feel. And because my brush is a little bit bigger, it may look a little bit different. But you know, the worst thing that can happen is that it's paint, and I can paint over it. It's not a tragedy, and I don't think it's a tragedy when people see me do something that I want to change either. So, because that happens to me, I'm not perfect, and especially when I'm creating and stuff. So I had talked to a friend of mine, came in to the live I was doing earlier today with the Lady Liberty, and I'm not gonna lie, that was a hot mess for a minute, and I didn't know if it was gonna work or not. And I was talking to her, and she had an awful thing happen in one of her lives this spring. I said, it was just like that. She goes, no, it wasn't. And I said, yes, it was. So but she begged to differ, but it felt that way. But in the end, it turned out okay. Remember that when we're talking about our 45-degree angle, we're talking about that corner to corner. And that's the way we're going to hold our brush. So I'm going to be holding the tip of my brush at that 45, and I'm going to keep it frozen that way. So when I pull my lines, I'm going to commit that brush to the surface and pull that straight down. Okay. And I'm going to put just a little, but notice how my brush is still at that 45-degree angle. I'm not twisting, I'm not turning, I'm not doing anything to it. I'm still keeping that at a 45. I've got a medium wash of paint, or what I would call a medium wash. It's pretty, it's got some transparency to it. Oh, everything has an ugly stage. Some things more than others. This had an ugly stage, like, yeah. So I told my husband, he touched base with me and said, how did it go? And I said, well, it was fine, but I honestly, I had to meet the Instacart gal, and that's why I needed to get off, because I had to sign for stuff, and because I had gotten a bottle of sangria to take on our camping trip, and I had to sign for it, and so I had to get off my live in order to do that. And I said the live went great, but she forgot our cookies. We never get cookies from Costco unless we go camping, and she forgot our little variety pack of cookies. Well, she didn't forget them, they charged us for them, so I don't know what happened. So that was my big epic fail thing, is that we didn't have our cookies. So no, but the live went great. But for a while there, it was touch and go. Yeah, keeping that 45-degree angle is the struggle for sure. That is the struggle when you're using a pen. That is the struggle when you're doing it this way. But keeping that at a 45 and just pulling it. You want to be in charge, but you gotta it's almost like carrying a cup of coffee. You hold that and you just make the letter, and you can't really concentrate on that part. You just have to work at doing it. Okay, so it's sometimes I'll fix it up with the corner of my brush a little bit, but when you've got you know, and even though I had that line there, if I'm looking at what I did and what I'd like to have different if I could, well, I would like it to be straighter because it's not as straight as I'd like it. So then I look at it and think, what could I have done different? Well, I could have made this backbone a little straighter. If it would have been straighter, the whole thing would have looked straighter. Actually, let's try that. Let's try that, because that way you'll be able to see. I don't think I can get this off. Let's get it dampened. No, it's not gonna come off enough, but I can get a little bit of it off. And then I'm gonna get my shoreline. I love this color. I love this color. I don't use it very often, and I don't know exactly why, except I tend to save things that I really like, so that I can use them for something that's just perfect. And so I don't know if I do that or what I'm doing, but I'm a perfectionist procrastinator. I want to save something for when it's the perfect time. So I'm going to let that dry. Yeah, no, you can't be tense. That's why I said take this in small doses. That's why an hour and a half is a long time for a class like this. Ideally, you know, we should be doing this probably, oh gosh, we should probably be doing this in 2 45-minute chunks instead of 1 hour and a half, or maybe even less. And so, you know, when you do this with paint, it's a much easier situation than when we used to do this with paper, because this would have been a whole brand new thing. It wouldn't, there wasn't the opportunity to do something again. You know, I feel like I'm talking about, you know, we walk to school uphill both ways, but it's true. It's true. It's keeping everything straight is going to be, you know, that's the story of my life. However, earlier today when I was talking about how the letters, if you isolate them, they're not very good, any of them. But when you get the whole picture together, it turns out better. And so that's the trick. That's the trick. So okay, so now I'm going to try and be better, and I want that at a 45. I'm going to try and pull this down a little bit straighter. That's better. I brought it down too far below. I'm keeping it at a 45, and I do like the way that looks a little bit better. You wrote it about 30 times. The breaking up of the letters. Let's see. Hold on. Yeah. And it just takes some time. And, you know, I want you to think back to your first painting classes and how those, you know, weren't making a lot of sense, I'm venturing to guess, either. So, you know, it just is one of those things where you have to be a little bit patient with yourself and give yourself the grace to do something different or wrong, or, you know, whatever. Because in the end, you know, it's all going to be okay. It's all going to be okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to, try again tomorrow. That's all you can do. That's all you can do. Let's see here. I'm going to grab some colors, because with Inspired, to me, it should have some colors that I really love. So I'm going to grab Dragon Fruit, because I really love that. It's got to have Periwinkle in it. So I'm going to grab Perfect Perry. I think I will also grab Provence Sky. I do love that. A little bit of Bubblegum Pink. It's got to have that one. Let's see. I don't have to have all the colors I love, but I do love those. Those would look good together. Maybe one more, but I don't know that that would show up. That would be a challenge, I think. Let's not do that one. Let's do, I wonder if we could do Sapphire. And then let's see, that's 5, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Perfect. And we can always add a second color. So earlier today we were doing things with, oh my goodness, your very first one was with Joan Dixon. My goodness. I remember that name. So I am going to take the dragon fruit, and actually I'm going to grab two more colors because I can. I'm going to grab, let's see, I want banana cream. I just had it out here, and I'm going to grab, that won't work. Where's my banana cream? Oh, you guys, where is it? Oh, I can use Sunny Day. That's good. Banana cream, Sunny Day, they're all the same. Not really, but okay. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and let's do Sea Aqua. I love that color. Okay, that way we'll have the 7 colors. And I'm just going to take a brush and with washi paint, and you might ask, well, why weren't you doing this with these colors in the first place? Because they wouldn't have turned out this way. So if you look at my palette right over here where my color is, if I would have used dragon fruit on top, that's the way it would have looked. It turns it kind of a weird purpley color. But because I used white underneath, and I could even overstroke this right now and it would look even more so the color, but I'm using a little bit smaller brush. I can just overstroke. With a wash of that pink. And there goes my lettering into a color that you know, I never would have been able to achieve on this color background. So it's kind of a neat technique to use when you want a different color, but you know, you're kind of in between a rock and a hard place. So I'm going to go to my Sunny Day, and I'm going to do the same exact thing with this icky paint that's kind of, ooh, I hope it works. So I'm going to go with my paint. Oh, let's get that pink out of there. So I'm going to get some of that Sunny Day, get it nice and washy. This is a strong color, but I do love the yellow. The yellow. And this is just a fun technique. Still using that same kind of an, you know, holding the brush the same way to get that base coat on, just like we did on the Create, but it's a totally different look. You can wash over the color. It would be pretty to do this, you know, with black and then use the colors to like doodle over it too, but that's not what we're going to do. That's not it. So I'm using the Perfect Perry now. And as I'm thinking of these colors, I don't want all my pink together, all my blue. I want to make sure that I've got them kind of mixed up. And then because I want this to be bookended, which means I want it to look even, sort of, or balanced, I guess is a better word. I don't want to have a light value at the end. So the E at the end, I don't want it to be my lightest value, which I guess would be either my Sea Aqua or my Bubblegum Pink. And so I know that that's going to be probably, I think I would like the look of that being the Sapphire Blue the best at this point. So I know that that's where that's going to go. And I know that I've got some of the white showing, and that's okay. It's not going to show forever. We're going to take care of that. Rinse out my brush. And we're going to take, I don't like that. I think I'm going to use Provence Sky next to the Perry. So you could use any colors that inspire you. And if you've seen the board, that it's a round board that I have on my website. It's a pattern packet and it says create, and there is a robin and a quilt and a jar. There's a beach, a few shells. There's all kinds of things on there. It's all my favorite things are on that board, and that is my that's my Create Dream Inspire board. That was something that was all about what I like to do, and it's something that is good for people to have, is something around them. This I'm going to have to wait, I think, until this. I was trying to fix that and then I hit it with my brush and I tore a hole in it, so I'm going to have to wait till it dries and then I can fix it. But it's nice to have something that inspires you around you to help, help kind of cheer you on. Let's see. Do I want, I think I want the green now. Or do I want the pink? No, I want the green. So this is Sea Aqua. Another wash. Wash just means that it's transparent. And I got a little bit smaller brush. I didn't tell you why. I got a little bit smaller brush so that I could not get so much on the background, because like I showed you how different that color was on my palette versus how it looked on my piece. I don't want it necessarily to look that much different, so I don't want it on the background. And it's okay that there's a little bit of white, because we're going to fix that. There we go. And then I am going to get my pink, my lighter pink, my bubblegum pink, because I might as well get out my sapphire. Just a washy bit of color. And you can almost feel it in your brush. I want it to feel like egg whites. I want it to feel slick. I don't want it to have any drag really, but I don't want it to feel too wet or too loose either. Like it's runny. I don't want it to be runny. I want there to be plenty of pigment. And these are my colors for sure. And it wouldn't look right to you if these weren't your colors. So, use colors that you think are inspiring to you, because this should be something that you enjoy. And you look at and you go, yeah, I did that. I did that for me. And that's something that we all have to do a little more of. I think I get on my, I get on the train and I have to do this and I have to do that and I have to, what about sometimes what I want to do? Sometimes you want to do something and you should do things you want to do too. So I'm going to get, there's a hair. Oh my goodness. Well. That Miss Lucy Cat, she's been up here drinking out of my water basin. My goodness. Okay, so we're going to let that dry. Yeah, the dots and flowers help a lot. You know, just the little bits of embellishment and stuff really make a difference, and you don't have to do all that much in order to make something, you know, distract from the bad to make it good, you know, or what you picture the bad. Now I'm going to get that hair out of there. Or maybe I'm not. Maybe it's going to live forevermore in that E. Silly cat. She comes up and in the morning she'll sit with me and she purrs and she rubs against me and then she tries and jumps on my table. And I'm like, I'm right here. It's been an ongoing thing. And it's not coming out. Okay, well, there we go. Silly cat, silly cat. So now I'm going to use my rigger liner that my friend Linda gave me. And I'm going to go back to all my letters. I'm going to go back. And if you're just coming in, this is, you didn't miss anything. You're not late, you're not early, you're not anything. This is just the recording for next time. I decided to do it live just so that it would be in here when people were ready for it. And you just happened to catch me. You just happened to catch me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line both sides very carefully. I'm putting pressure on that brush to get that commitment. Get that commitment out of that brush. So on each one of those letters, I'm going to outline them. She doesn't get on any of the other tables. She just wants up here because she likes to drink my paint water. She doesn't get on any of the other tables. She's just so infuriating. So, but I love her, and she's a goofy cat. She's fun. Oh, I am totally a night owl. I'm both. My mom used to say that I didn't want to miss out on anything. And honestly, it's only 7:30 where I'm at. So that's kind of funny. So on this one, I'm going to put 3 stripes. Oops. It's okay if they're crooked. Nobody's going to notice unless you tell, and you better not tell. Now I go to this yellow. I'm going to load my liner. And remember, the one thing I'm going to do on all of them is I'm going to outline them. And this yellow, it's not going to show much. So I'm still going to outline it. Shane, did the eggs come? Yes. Oh, no way. You guys, the eggs came. The eggs have landed. The subscription boxes could have gone out yesterday, and I had ordered these 1.5 inch little wood eggs, and they're still not all there. So, but we have enough, I think, to send everything out. Everything's going out tomorrow no matter what, but at least they will be complete. Yay! So there we've got the yellow on there, and I'm going to let that sit and marinate with my head for a minute because I'm not sure how I want to approach that one. And then I'm going to take that Perfect Perry, which was the next color, and I'm going to outline that. So I'm outlining each one of these. But remember, I did these exactly how I did the letters earlier. I still held my brush at a 45 when I was stroking on the letters. I still stroked them on with Snow White, only it was a little bit thicker. It wasn't quite as transparent. I outlined them just a little bit differently. I used a flat brush, but this one was a little bit bigger. So you get the idea with just some slight little changes, adding a little color. Lettering is meant to be fun, and it's way more fun than it used to be. Way more fun. Yeah, even though I'm usually up by 5 or 5:30, I'm rarely asleep. I might be in bed, but I rarely put down my iPad or quit reading or doing whatever I'm doing before midnight. So I am both an early riser and a night owl. My husband goes to bed every night at 10 o'clock, and I usually go up with him, but that's when I read. And if I stayed up, I'd stay up for a lot longer. So that one shows up okay. I just kind of quit doing my little patterns there for a second because I want to see which ones show up and which ones don't. Now I'm down to Sea Aqua, and I've got to outline that one. So I'm just loading up my liner. When I load up my liner, I want to make sure I have enough water in there for the paint to move, and I want to make sure that my ferrule doesn't have any water droplets on it. That is something that can be a catastrophic thing. If you have a water droplet that runs down that ferrule, it will make a mess on your board in a quick hurry, and it's oftentimes really hard to clean up the damage. So look for that. I'm going to cross that. I like it already. We might not want to always have, you know, tons of different colors in every room of our home, but our studios are one place that, you know, it's fun to have, I think. Some people like their studios all matchy-matchy, but I think it's fun to have different colors and artwork from different people. And from where I sit and paint, I can see artwork from Jamie Mills Price, Karen Brower, and Barb Jones. It's all on my desk. And I love that. Okay. I had a puddle of water. I didn't realize it. Eek. There we go. And that helps clean up those edges. And lettering should be something that spans from the very, very formal to the oh so very whimsical. And it should take chances, it should have fun. So that we're going to do in this. So I'm going to take my same rigger brush. I flattened it out, and I got to do it, you guys. I got to try one more time to get that hair without making too big of a mess. It is really embedded in there, you guys. Well, I'm not going to scratch it all up. A little bit of Lucy will be forevermore in this piece. Good thing it's for me, I guess. Little brat. And I'm just going to put some little stripes on here. Oop, I split it up. There we go. I didn't do that very straight. Oh, well, it's going to be straight enough. There we go. So my idea is to have a little bit of this pattern, or not this pattern, but a pattern on each one. And then I will have, I'll be adding a little bit of something here too. So I'm going to grab a little bit of that Provence Sky. I'm using still my liner brush, and this time I'm going to do a little bit of a wavy line. Wavy, wavy. There we go. How about I think with the periwinkle one, let's do some thin horizontals. So this is kind of like when you had to think of 10 different ways to write your name. These 10 different, or well, it's only 7, but still it feels like 22 different patterns. But you get the picture here, that it's just a little bit of patterning. This isn't how it's going to stay. There'll be more. You can always add a little bit more, just a little touch. But this monochromatic, but with other colors, is kind of a fun way to do things. And you don't think that you're ever going to get away from me without having polka dots. So let's use the other end of that brush. See if, are those going to show? I don't know. Not very well, are they? So let's do this. This is the, would this be an after meeting? Hold on here. Okay. Yeah, the white, we'll add the white later because we're going to use white on here too. So I'm not going to use that pink though on the pink dots. The pink dots don't show up. We can use something else to make it show up on the pink. But I am going to use on the aqua, the sea aqua, I can use the dots and those will show up more because that's a little bit lighter. Got to have a little bit of pokey dots. One of my friends since I've had since kindergarten, I don't think her mother ever left the house without polka dots on or wearing them in some form or fashion. So kind of funny. I'm going to take that pink, and for the pink only because it's just so light, I'm going to just take a little bit of dragon fruit on the brush. It's going to be barely noticeable that there's anything dark on there, but just to deepen up that pink just ever so slightly so it will show. I'm going to just go with one stripe through. So you barely know it's there, but I did add just a skosh of dragon fruit. So each one now has a little bit of a different pattern to it, including the non-pattern. So we want those to dry. Yeah, the red eye is a little bit off. We've got a lot to do though. It's just a little bit short, or it could be maybe a little crookedy. Let's do this. That's better. And I do have a little bit of sapphire on my background. I must have gotten my finger in it or something. And I got a flick of some sort of water. So I'm going to fix those two things up. So now I would like to have just a little bit of a side load to add a little bit of depth, just so that I can put that behind the letters. And I'm thinking that maybe Laguna might be my friend here. Maybe. Yeah, that will work. Let's see how that looks. Give it a little bit of a side load around the, ooh, that came out totally clear. This was not the one I grabbed earlier. It even sounds like it's separated out. There it is. There's the other one. We can shake this one up another day. That's better. I'm getting out my 1.5 or my 1/2 inch, hello, 3/4 inch flat. I'm going to test it on my palette. I'm not positive that I'm going to love it, but we're going to try it. We're going to try it in the middle of the P. And although I don't love it, I don't hate it. And it's just, this is something that is for me, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. It's fine. It's fine. It's all fine. I just want a little bit of color on that background here and there. Run it down just to give it a little bit of something, something. All of that will just set it onto your, and it will look like it's part of the piece rather than sitting on top, if that makes sense. And you've heard that, I'm sure, before. Now, if I were to add other things to this and use these colors, I mean, even just simple things would be really fun with these colors. You know, I'm always good for bugs and blossoms, of course, and that kind of stuff, but it would just be fun. Just something, a little something, something. And it doesn't have to be even everywhere, but I want some of these darker little shadowed areas. And then I can call that pretty okay. I can always bring some more back in there. Looks like it should be under the trunk. The trunk? The trunk. The trunk. What's the trunk? What?
Which one?
Both.
How many?
3. I'm also going to take, while I'm here, and I don't think it needs to happen on all the letters, but definitely this sapphire one, I'm going to shade a little bit. Just on that back side, maybe this front side. And maybe that's just because it needed a little bit of strengthening because of the dark color or the strength of my initial wash. But sometimes when you put a wash on something, whether it's a letter or something else, it will just, that little side load will just help to kind of even it out. And there too. But I think we're pretty okay most of the other places. I think maybe the eye needs it. Down here, maybe up here, the bottom. Okay, and we're gonna call that good. It's the bottom piece that fits under the down piece line. It looks like it's in front of it and not under it. Yeah, it does look like it's in front of it. I guess we could put this like this. We could put that like that. And that sets that back some. So let's get that dry. As long as those dots are skinned over, we're fine. So there we've gone over it and we've done a lot more painting than we've done, but we did the letters again with that, with just holding that brush at a 45. It's now time, I'm going to use the white paint pen in a lot of different places, and it will be, not only will it be to enhance things, but it's going to be to embellish and to include some doodles and things. So it's a way to help just make it a little more fun. So you can use it to, hold on here, my pen is flooding. I don't know why. So I can go around parts of it, but I'm not going to use it just to outline. And this might be something that you don't want to tackle right now, and that's okay. But it is fun to include in your lettering a little bit of, you know, just another kind of element. So here we go with the yellow. Hi, Laura. We're getting a lot of our folks in here. It shows you what I get for thinking I'm all sneaky. I am not very sneaky. That's funny. Late here, you're hooked on this. Oh my goodness. Uh-oh, you've got bit by the bug. You have gotten bit. show up. I'm having a little bit of a hard time with anything showing up on this white. So we'll see when that dries if anything shows up. But if not, I'll go over it with something else. But I just want a little bit because it's having a hard time looking like it's showing up. But it is just fun to now go over and do some little bits and parts and pieces with the pen. And you know, it's just adding a little factor that's unexpected, fun, just whimsy. You know, you could add even some metallic. That would be fun. Some, I like the idea of silver in this. And it just really makes it pop. But the next part is what I'm really excited about. And you don't need to take and do everything on your patterns that you added. You don't have to add things to them all. But you don't have to touch on each one of the patterns. But what you could do is maybe go in between and add a different element. So although I'm not going on the lines of the purple, I could go in between them and add something. So let me go, oops, let me go in. Just a little fun, quick. Maybe a little donut with a dot. Looks like little frog eggs or something. But if you're a doodler, this is your kind of a deal. And that's for sure my deal. I used to sit in staff meetings, and I had one gal that I would sit with a lot, and she would write down the most peculiar combinations of things that she could think of. And you know, like an elephant wearing a tutu, riding a motorcycle, or you know, just crazy, weird, dumb things. And then I would draw them, and I loved it because she honestly came up with things that I never, ever would have come up with. And let's do and so you think about outlines and things being a lot of the time in black, but we don't always think of them being added. Hello, Bev. You don't think of them being in white, little things added in white. And so that's one of the things that's kind of fun, is to add different elements. in white, and I think right here needs to have a little posy. So now I can add some little doodles in between, because part of the inspiration should be the drawing that comes forth out of it, right? So you can add little drawings and doodles. They can be either real, or maybe it's kind of a pattern thing that's like almost a mandala kind of an idea. And that should probably have a second layer. And you can just really have fun with the whole idea of creating something that's never existed before you, because you didn't create it before. And again, because you added things to it, any one little thing, like when you didn't get something quite right, or you didn't get it exactly perfect, that part doesn't stand out. It becomes just part of the overall look of things. And maybe one of the things that I really love is to have sunshine involved. One thing that at the time I didn't think of it, I wasn't offended by it certainly, but I didn't think of it nearly as the compliment that I do now. I worked in for the local gas company, and one of the construction crew members started calling me Sunshine, and I worked the locate desk, so I did a lot of stuff for the crews and was on the radio all the time. And him calling me Sunshine meant that I was not one of the ones that he didn't want to speak to in the office. And so that's part of my affinity, I think, for sunshine, you know, motif kind of things. So this should be something that has things on it that inspire you, that make you happy, that bring you, you know, any kind of joy that you can think of. And maybe it helps you to relax a little bit about some lettering and doing something just for the fun of doing it, and not feeling like you have to have it exactly perfectly perfect, but you can enjoy the process too. I love hearts, so my sunshine's gonna have hearts. And if they weren't perfect, they could become something else. But you get the idea that, you know, anything goes on something like this. You get to make it whatever makes you happy. probably, this needs some other things too. So I like to have swirlies. And so no longer do I have to worry about what's, you know, what's missing, what doesn't look exactly perfect. Because as I add all these things, it's going to be part of the whole thing. So this is, you know, people talk about their inspiration boards all the time. This is my kind of inspiration board. I don't need to have anything that's real fussy and perfect and philosophical and all of that stuff. I just want to have fun doing it and say, yeah, I had a good time one night when I thought I was going to be really sneaky and sly and get on with my group, and then there they were, but I still had fun doing this and showing them something that I thought was fun, and doing something that is fun to do with lettering. So hopefully that's something that you think is fun too. So it's you know, just one of those things that hopefully people can you know, just find some pleasure in. It's funny how I do some of my best design work on airplanes. I really enjoy it. Usually I don't get a lot of interruptions. Once in a while I do, and honestly it causes me to put away my sketchbook because, or my, usually it's my iPad. It doesn't bother me when it's the flight attendants, but sometimes people have opinions they think that you want to hear. And funny thing is I really don't want to hear them, because usually they're not always very good. And so, and usually it's people are, you know, people are funny. They're just funny. And so, but it's the flight attendants have a lot of positive things to say, which is really nice. But it would be great if people felt a lot more comfortable doing stuff like this. It's a great way to pass time. I've had a lot of people since we started the lettering group say, oh my goodness, I am having so much fun doing this, or I can't put it down. One of them's in this room right now. So just some fun little patterns, and you know, you don't have to, you can make this as simple. I bet there is. I bet there is, Colleen. You have all different kinds of people. All different kinds of people. And now it's even more complicated. I've always had really good interactions with the staff and stuff. I think part of it is to the airlines that you travel to the most. So, but you just have fun with this, and you can do as little or as much. If this isn't your thing, then don't do this part. You know, try doing some letters that are colorful, but don't do the doodling part. If the doodling isn't your deal, don't doodly do it. That's stolen directly from Lindsay Ostrom. That's one of her books. So, but it is something that a lot of people enjoy, and so I wanted to incorporate that, and just whatever comes into your head, something that you enjoy, you know, however you want to do it, that's the best thing. But to do something like this with white instead of black, that's a key. To have fun with color, to choose color just for color's sake, not because it goes together or looks good together or has any kind of anything besides you just like it. You know, and I'm looking at that sapphire on that last E. It looks much darker than sapphire, doesn't it? And that first one, that dragon fruit, does look really red and not pink. So it's funny how color changes when you're looking at stuff. But have fun with this. Make it your own, and just do your thing. Do your thing. So I was using a Posca paint pen, and honestly, it's not my favorite. My favorite is, I do like the Artistro ones the best, but I took them to, where did I take them? Oh, I took them to the Portland Convention, and I keep forgetting to bring them in from the shed. They're in my stuff out there from the Portland Convention. So I have this one, and then I mean, there's nothing wrong with a Posca pen, but I do like the Artistro ones better. They seem to be a little more vibrant. What I wouldn't recommend, and a lot of people use for these, is the gel pens. The gel pens just, they dry up, and they skip, they're frustrating. And, you know, and Barb, if you're not a doodler, don't do this. You know, and if you wanted to try some different things on Pinterest, I'm going to go away from this now. On Pinterest, there are tons and tons and tons of doodle ideas. A lot of them are called bullet journaling. And they're just little patterns and little, you know, they have borders and different things. And you can try some of those if you want to try it. If it's not your thing, don't do it. But what I want to do is throw some ideas out there. Some people are going to love them. Some people aren't. And hopefully the next time we do something, you're going to like it. And that's going to be your thing more. So we are going to look at this lettering style one more time, and that's on the 12th, and we will be taking it a different direction still. So we've had the one where we left it white, and we had the polka dots, and we had all this stuff. This time we put the color to it, use some other patterns, which if you wanted to, you could use those patterns in any color if you had those patterns and use them all at the same time. So if you used the polka dots like we did all on the same letters, it would look like that. But if you used the diagonal stripes, or if you use the wiggly lines, or if you know, it would look different. And so that's always a possibility too. So try a little bit of that, but mostly work on keeping that angle of the tip of your brush at a 45-degree angle. And that's just one style of lettering that's going to require something specific like that to keep that brush at that specific angle. So that's the point of this style. And we'll keep working on that and keep plugging away at it. And I hope that you give it a try. This would be a fun technique to use with words like stars and stripes at this time of year, or you know, blooms and blossoms, or creepies and crawlies, or something that, you know, is summery, like popsicles and ice cream, or, you know, just any old thing, lakes and beaches, or, you know, you get the idea. Flip-flops, that would be fun too. So you can practice with any number of things, and see what comes about. Also, a chisel type marker would work to practice too, because you can still keep that at a 45-degree angle to get that same kind of a practice. Or they have calligraphy markers, but you don't have to go out and buy something like that. But it's just fun, So give it a shot, give it a try, see what you come up with, and we will work on this again so that we can keep practicing that 45. And I will talk to you soon. If you have any questions, don't feel free to drop them in the group. I will be available online. I'll be checking in and stuff. I'll do some lives and things. I just didn't want to count on internet where we're going to be in order to do a class and a live stream, because that's asking a lot of of the internet there. I'm going to be you know, it's usually okay, but it's not super. So it's state park grade. It's not, you know, quality. It's just okay. So yeah. Oh, you're very, very welcome. Thank you for coming in and blowing my cover. You East Coast people, thank you so much. You guys go to bed now. Go to bed. It's late. Get some sleep. I will talk to you soon. Thanks so much for coming in, you guys. I will see you on the 12th. Happy 4th of July and happy Canada Day for you in Canada. See you soon. Bye.